You mentioned that you were raised by a single mother.
Yes.
What's your advice to someone that is being raised by a single mother or father or lives in an abusive household? How should they develop themselves? And how did you?
So, I mean, I'm gonna share some personal stuff here, right? Some stuff that I've never shared. Um, my mother was a very strong woman. May Allah protect her. Still alive. May Allah give her a long life. May Allah. And she's a very, very good woman, mashallah.
I mean,
She prays at night. She gives sadaqah, mashallah. Um, growing up, she was a great mother. She was very strong, but she had to work two jobs. And, she had degrees from Pakistan, like she had a master's and second master's, but it didn't get recognized in the US. So she had to work at like t-shirt factories and doing security as a woman from Pakistan. Like that's very difficult, but she did it because she was strong. And that made me realize that life isn't easy. It's tough, and you have to toughen up. And she never complained. I never saw her cry about it. Never saw her, complain. She was just firm, and she's a great role model, right? Um, and then I had stepfathers. I mean, my stepfather that I had for like 30 years, he just passed away. May Allah have mercy on him. He was a revert. Um, but they had, I mean, he was revert, but he was challenged with a lot of things in life, like alcoholism and things like this. And he was, at times he would be drunk, and I'd have to, as a child, deal with that situation. So it's not easy, right? But who said life was going to be easy, right? There's no guarantee. This life is a test. It's supposed to be tough, right? So you have to do what's right. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your family. I mean, at times I had to physically protect my family from him. I did. Uh, Even though I was young, I stepped up. And alhamdulillah. I mean, later on, alhamdulillah, he became, five-time praying and all that. Alhamdulillah, and he died as a Muslim. Allah have mercy on him. But there were times, where he'd come home drunk and act a fool, and I'd have to put my hands on him, because I'm not gonna let him put his hands on my mom, right? That was some deep stuff right there.
so what would your advice be to someone growing up in an environment similar to that?
That everything's better with tea.
I
Um,
love your teapot, by the
there
way.
you
I
go, man.
mentioned it off of
Barakallah
it.
fikum.
It's going all around
Um,
right here.
again, what's my advice? My advice is, turn to Allah,
Thank you, Sheikh.
understand that, this life is not easy, and we're meant for the akhirah. We're meant for the hereafter. We're not meant for this dunya. So take it like a test, do what you have to do. If it's tough, alhamdulillah, cry to Allah, don't cry to people, you know. Um,
I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you have to do it, sugar, huh?
it's bad, but what can you do? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't vape, I don't do anything else. So gotta do something bad, right?
I think it was you actually who mentioned it. It might have been another sheikh, but that everyone comes to Allah with a sin that they're always committing and turning back to Allah with.
Of
Nobody's,
course. May Allah protect us, yeah.
yeah,
And if sugar is my sin, I'm good.
sugar. That's a great sin, mashallah to have.
May Allah protect us. So yeah, look, move forward, Like to me, I'm not a big, touchy feely, talky kind of a guy. I'm like, look, life's tough, and it's tough, Pull up your socks, keep moving forward, right? Somebody's abusive, deal with it. If you gotta fight them, you gotta fight them. If you gotta walk away.
But do you think maybe that the circumstances in your household may have influenced, not completely, perhaps the environment outside where you ended up in gangs and ended up hanging
Uh,
out with the wrong crowd and not
I-
becoming Muslim?
I'm not gonna blame anybody else for my decisions except me. I don't believe in, blaming others. I don't believe in, this is like nowadays the youth is all about blaming others, right? Oh, my dad didn't hug me enough as a child, so I turned out. Nah, man, be a man. Take responsibility for your life, right? I joined gangs because I came into a situation, and I think I've talked about it before, but I'll give you a brief thing. I had a friend, and he got into a fight, and I went to back him up, and he ran away, and the gang members he was getting to fight with beat me up, and then my father came from his house because my parents were divorced, and He went and found them and he beat them up. He cracked one of their heads. He cracked one of their shoulders. You know, my father was a policeman in Pakistan, so he was a tough guy. And but then he went back to his house and his nice neighborhood, and I had to go to school in the hood the next day. And basically, the gang is called Lomas 27th Street here. You know, I can take you to their neighborhood today. Even they're still around. It's a 500 people strong gang, right? And they were like, "Well, we're gonna kill this kid," because I was 12. You know, you're one 12-year-old against a big street gang. There's no way you're gonna survive. So the only other option was to join another gang called East Side San Diego, Sureños, and I did, right? I mean, I wasn't trying to be cool. I wasn't looking for a family. I wasn't looking for a hug. I mean, it wasn't like I don't believe in all that, right? I believe that this is the situation I was put in and I made the decision that I did. Right or wrong, I ask Allah for forgiveness. You know, I don't think I had an option, right? Because the other option was get killed. It's not like you could live in a police station day and night or something, right? So I got into gangs. I didn't start hanging out with gang members because I was trying to get away from my house. No, man, you know, even though my house was hectic, there was stressful, there was problems, but that's not what it was about. It was about, the fact that I had to survive, right?
Well, what would you say to a parent or someone that has a child or relative that is out in the streets, hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things, maybe even just taking drugs or addicted to it?
Yeah.
What should they do?
Look, as a parent, you need to be in communication with your children first off, right? Like me, as you've seen all day with my son, we joke, we laugh, we communicate. There is a respect, but at the same time, I have always developed a relationship with my kids that is close enough. And my mother was like this with me. I have to credit her for this, where they can come to me and present any problem that they're facing with. They won't be shy about it, right? If they're like, hey, somebody's offering me drugs, they can come talk to me. And I would just calmly talk them through the next step of it. Like, okay, so you smoke weed, then what? You're going to get sick of it, right? Then you're going to go get meth, you're going to get heroin, then you're going to be out doing things for people that you don't want to be doing, putting things in places that you don't want to put because you're trying to make more money for drugs. Is that the life you want? I took my kids and I took them to homeless places in San Diego where there's drug addicts doing, and I said, look at it. Go look at it with your own eyes. Is that what you want? If it is, I can't stop you. But that's a decision you need to make. Is that the future you want? Alhamdulillah. When my kids were offered, even though they were homeschooled, but when they would go for testing and all that, when they were offered drugs, they came and told me, hey, this guy tried to offer me weed. It's like, what'd you do? I said, I turned it down. Why? I said, it's haram. Good job. That's it. If your kids are caught up in it, talk to them. Rationalize it with them. Tell them, look, me, I'll tell you something about me. I've never had alcohol in my life. Never sipped it. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. Not because it was haram. I never ate pork because even when I was absolutely away from the religion, I had this idea that as a Muslim, we don't eat pork. Right? So everything else the gang life comes with was okay, but pork was not, right? So if I see a Muslim eating pork, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like that is just like, how did that happen, right? But I never drank alcohol because I saw the evil in it, and I never wanted it to control me. I saw people urinate on themselves because they were drunk. I saw people act a fool because they were drunk. And I said, that's not a dignified way that I want to be remembered. So I never drank alcohol. I never smoked cigarettes 'cause I never saw the point in it. It doesn't make you see purple dinosaurs or anything. It doesn't, what's the point of smoking? Like, I don't get it. Smells bad. So I never drank. I never smoked. I never did these things because I didn't see the point in it. And I always spoke to my kids. So if your kids are caught up in that life, like the gang life, right? I didn't have a choice, like I told you, but I speak to a lot of gang members today. Like I didn't talk about my gang life for a long time, and your podcast was one of the first places that I really kind of got into depth about it. And many, many, many hundreds of gang members from around the U.S., Mexico, the U.K. have left the gang world because they saw that story, they watched that video, and they reached out to us. Like I was telling you, I met a brother in Canada, and he was from Tijuana, from the cartels, and he was like, "Look, I saw your video, didn't know any Muslims." And just from watching that Islam changed you, I went and looked for Muslims so that it could change me. So, and he's Muslim, alhamdulillah, today, right? And many, many people like that. So I speak to them and I just talk it through. Like, look, if you get into the gang world, what's it gonna happen? What's next? Like, okay, there's only two places the gang world ends you up: in prison or in the grave. Like, there's no third destination, right? So, like a lot of young guys I speak to, I tell them, "You like taking showers with guys? Is that what you want? Like, you like seeing naked guys?" And they're like, "No, what are you talking about?" Like, well, that's what's gonna happen to you in prison. Like, you're not gonna go and be out there with your girlfriend, right? It's gonna be you and a bunch of dudes, and there's gonna be dudes bigger than you. They're gonna be friendly with you in ways that you don't want them to be friendly with you. So is that what you want? Think it through, right? You want to be in a grave? Let's go to the graveyard. Let's see those graveyards. I just buried a brother in Canada, a Muslim brother who was caught up in some stuff. We did janazah on him. I was in Edmonton, and he was 24 years old, and I felt so bad for the family, the mother that was crying. And I tell the young brothers, go see his grave. Is that what you want? You want your mother sitting there crying on your grave when you're 24? You don't even live life. I have friends that were 14 years old that got killed. 14. They never even got to enjoy their teens. Like what kind of life is that? So if somebody's caught up, sit down and talk to them. Communicate with them.